Hello and welcome back to Proactive New York. I'm Christine Corrado. With me on Skype today is Mark Emelfarb, CEO of Dyadic International. Mark, great to see you.
Great to see you too, Christine.
Mark, first off, congratulations. Dyadic signed a research collaboration this week with a top-tier pharma company to express 3 different types and classes of proteins. You also announced your Q2 earnings yesterday. Can you kind of give me some more color on this collaboration?
Yeah, so this is another top-tier pharmaceutical company, in addition to Sanofi, Serum Institute, and several top 25 pharma companies. But this one's a little different. This one is a big pharma company that within the company has its own division that actually is focused on the same goals and objectives we are of using microbial organisms to replace CHO cells. And so that division within this big pharma company is basically aligned with our interest, is getting drugs made quicker, faster, and cheaper so that we can bring more affordable healthcare to patients globally. And in addition to the fact that this division within that pharmaceutical company, they also have an affiliated company that we're in discussions with that can help us speed the development, adoption, and use to spread C1 globally across the world.
You mentioned the Serum Institute of India just now. We've kind of discussed this in previous interviews, but this was also something that was brought up in the earnings call. They produce low-cost therapies. Can you kind of remind us what this partnership means for Dyadic?
Well, I think the important thing here is what it means for Dyadic, but also what it means for the world. I mean, what we're doing with Serum is they're one of the low-cost producers of vaccines on the planet. And so by them taking and using C1 and being committed wholeheartedly to C1 is if we can dramatically reduce the cost of producing these vaccines, we can actually help vaccinate the world. So aside of fulfilling on the Bill and Melinda Gates vision of bringing low-cost vaccines and therapeutic drugs globally to the third world as well as in the West. And I think in the case of Serum, as we talked about, there's 8 different antibodies and 4 different vaccines that we expect to work with them on. And that's the beginning, and it could actually expand beyond that. And one of the things that's beautiful about them is not only do they have the experience of developing and bringing these through regulatory agencies globally, they have the manufacturing experience as well. So they're committed to really working with us and driving this. And one of the things that they do as a sort of tangential benefit to us and to them is they work with groups like WHO, the Gates Foundation, IAVD, the AIDS Foundation, and others that are bringing them potential cures, molecules, or genes that we can potentially produce much lower cost to bring these affordable healthcare to the patients globally.
And besides the Serum Institute of India, you've also been working with Sanofi and several other top pharma companies in various proof of concept research collaborations. How are some of these collaborations going so far?
Well, depending on the protein, but in some cases, we've actually seen record productivity levels, and that's before we've even optimized the process. Where we take one gene copy, put it in one specific site in the C1 genome, and it produced things like 22 grams per liter of a monoclonal antibody in 7 days, or 3 grams per liter per day, compared to 0.3 grams per liter per day of a typical CHO-produced monoclonal antibody. So we've seen similar results in the Zappy program with the antigen being produced at 17 times the amount that they asked us to do from a commercial perspective, or 35 times more than baculovirus, which is the way that they were producing it previously. So in a lot of ways that we're seeing great results, and we're hoping that'll lead to broader collaborations, deeper collaborations with Sanofi and these other pharma companies, where they share in the vision and opportunity of just how far and how broad C1 can be applied globally across varieties of classes and multiple classes of therapeutic treatments.
You mentioned the Zappy project. This was one of the biologics which was produced in C1. Which is the other one?
The IIBR, which is the Israeli Institute of Biological Research. And the beautiful thing there is both of those are now going towards animal studies. We were able to produce sufficient quantities to meet their needs. Of course, in the case of Zappy, we did it at 17 times the amount they asked us to. In the case of IIBR, we're also to do things that they couldn't do previously. And now they're taking both Zappy and IIBR and moving those into animal studies that we expect to start sometime this year.
And how about Dyadic's AAV research program? How's that going?
Well, that's something that we're exploring is does C1 have the potential to produce these viral vectors? As you know, there's a shortage of supply of those, they're too costly, and it's a big bottleneck in the pharmaceutical industry for cell and gene therapy. So far, it's going well and as planned, but it's still early in the process. But if we can make viral vectors quicker and cheaper in larger volumes, I think it'll be tremendously beneficial for mankind.
And well, I mean, in terms of financials, of course, this was an earnings call. We're still seeing a strong balance sheet from Dyadic with $38.3 million in cash together with investment grade securities. In Q1, you projected you'd spend somewhere between 8 and 10 million of cash in 2019, which would leave Dyadic at the end of 2019 with 34 million. Is that still kind of on track with your projection for 2019?
Yeah, so we're definitely on track with what we projected. It's actually $38.8 million that we reported yesterday after Q2. And we still expect to burn through 8 to $10 million of cash, and that's providing we don't get an influx of a significant upfront payment on one of the pharma potential license deals that may or may not come this year or in 2020. So in fact, as we talked about on the call last night, we could have accretive or positive cash if one or more of these license deals come through like they did in the industrial biotech sector previously.
Well, Mark, really appreciate the update. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Christine. Always a pleasure.